If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in 1 decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence. Nikola Tesla.
Welcome to the Frequency Shifter Show. I'm your host, Corene Summers, founder of Artisan Farmacy. In this show, we explore ways to raise the frequency of ourselves, one another, and our planet. We're digging deep into all things metaphysical, from what is frequency to the power of sound, the Schumann resonance, our DNA, Reiki, the energy of water, and beyond, all to shift our minds and bodies back into alignment with richer states of connection, elevated awareness, and maximum human potential. And we're bringing on the global experts and thought leaders to share their wisdom as they let us pick their brains around all these juicy, mysterious topics.
First of all, I don't know who Ricky is, and metaphysical, Schumann's Renaissance. I don't even know. What are you talking about? Wait a minute. I need us to take a step back and calm down. What are we even talking about here?
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I have a co-host. The universe insisted, what can I say? This is Alex Terranova, founder of DreamMason. He's sort of a newbie to some of this frequency stuff, and he's going to help keep everything balanced, grounded, and relatable.
So this show isn't just for the experts to nerd out on all things metaphysical, but it's an open, welcome space for everyone to explore the mysteries of the universe and raise our frequencies together.
Welcome back, Frequency Shifters. Excited for another episode, this time with Camille Craft. She is absolutely incredible. She's the lens of astrology with the art of craft and ritual to reprogram your subconscious, truly the art of ritual. But if you really want to get to know her and get inspired, take a moment, press pause, and go check out her Instagram before listening to the rest of this episode. She has probably the most beautiful Instagram account I've ever seen, and you can feel that she infuses her magic into every single post. Am I right, Alex, or am I right?
I'm on her Instagram right now. I wasn't listening to anything you were saying. I was checking out her Instagram. Yes, you are 100% right. I've actually never seen an Instagram so beautifully crafted. You can't explain it because it's not just like she took pictures. She's actually creating what's on there, and not just the visual. Like, she's actually creating the things that are behind the things that we see.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a great episode. Her Instagram is great. Let's what's up? What you want to say? What else you want to say?
No, now it's probably going to be overthought, but that you said craft or crafted, and her last name is Craft, and that's truly like what she is. Like, she crafts beautiful things out of simple everyday things and helps you craft your unique rituals. So go check out the episode. Sorry, but I'm bummed.
Camille, I'm so excited that you're with us. We've had astrologers on this podcast before, so right, we don't like to ask everyone the same questions, but you have something unique, which is you're an astrologer and you also work with people on like subconscious reprogramming and helping them be more successful. Before we like even dive into those, can you speak to like how those things are actually related?
Yes, definitely. So astrology is really interpretation, right? Every single person is interpreting, and really it comes from a deeper, an opportunity to really deeply understand ourselves. So it's really an opportunity to dive into what makes you you, right? What makes you tick? What makes you you? What are all these planets and symbols and things that are uniquely within your birth chart, and how do they come together to create the unique personality of who you are and what you bring to this world? So astrology is that opportunity, right? It's a deeply understanding the psychology of who you are, how you work, how you think, how you communicate, how you feel, right? And so really understanding the way that it works with the subconscious is, what are the experiences that happened in your life and how did you articulate them? What are those beliefs that really kind of move forward from the different places or experiences in your life, and how did you assimilate them? And then how did those experiences bring forward the different personality traits that you have now? So it's very intrinsically linked. right? You determine your entire personality by your subconscious, right? And the way that you act or inform your environment is from that space of subconscious. And the way that you inform your conscious mind is from that space of the shadow. And you actually bring forward that shadow, or that subconscious is formed when you're a child, you know? So all of those inherent experiences that you have, all of those things that you start between the ages of 0 and 5, relatively is also found in your birth chart. So as those cycles come through, this is how we really start to tap into maybe deeply understanding ourselves through the stars, how they impact us, but also the journey of rediscovering who we are and how to come back home to ourselves and the unique purpose and being that you are and who you came here to be.
That was so beautifully said. Thank you for diving into that. That was so well said, and it really resonates with me a lot because my journey with astrology, like I used to only know my sun sign, and then the more I learned, and I would cover like where one planet was and like one house, and like slowly put my puzzle together, and it created these like deep dives into myself and my psyche and my past and my history and what my future is supposed to be. And like, there's like so many aha moments when you start to do that dive for yourself and explore
Definitely.
what it means. If somebody was new to all of this though, and they like past me only know their sun sign and want to get started in using it to understand their psyche and deal with their shadow work, how would you tell them to get started?
I would definitely have them journey a little bit more into their moon sign. So basically, the sun sign, everybody knows, right? Everyone knows like what season you were born in. There's archetypes that go along with that as well. But your moon sign is a really good way of just being able to articulate your connection with yourself. So the moon rules our emotions. It rules the way that we understand things, our internal worlds, and the way that we really tap into those spaces. You know, you can also tap into other other planetary rulers or things like that in your chart, which you can go a little bit deeper. But the moon sign is such a beautiful opportunity for us to really kind of articulate what is the world going on inside of me, because it's different than the one that's externally or the way people see us. There's a different layer to the moon sign that really brings in a little bit of that subconscious, right? And the way that we actually traverse in this external realm is through that internal relationship that we have to ourselves, because that internal space is actually how we inform our external environment and how we create manifestation, how we create experiences, how we create and react, and react. So there's a lot of deep self awareness that can come through just understanding your moon sign and how you personally articulate things.
I I'm always like curious when we talk to all sorts of different people on this show, actually, that how they look at that this just isn't all kind of like nonsense. And I don't I believe I believe it, but there's obviously a lot of people out there that would be like astrology, it's like very woo-woo, or it's fun, it's not real. How do you explain, like how do you connect it? Or if you were speaking to somebody who didn't really grasp it or see it as real and just saw it as fun, like how would you help them see, the
Besides that it's
potential in it?
billions of years old science. Sorry.
But right, like any that
Like,
doesn't
besides that, though.
well, like look,
Right.
people don't even believe regular science. So, right, like if I'm sitting with somebody and they're like, yeah, astrology is that thing that I see in the newspaper, like with the dates, right? How do you connect to somebody who's skeptical about it and how support them to see something different?
Right. I actually get this question quite a bit because I tend to, just different events or things like that. People will come up to me and just be like, I don't believe in this. You know what I mean? And I'm like, that's awesome. Let's have a conversation about it. So basically, the way that I work with astrology, and a big part of it is ritual, right? And so, ritual, or in that we work a lot with the elements. We're aware that there are certain times of the year that the sun is a little bit stronger, or like there's certain plants that bloom around a certain time because of those light cycles. You also want to start to think about, oh, well, the moon affects the tides, right? It affects water, it moves water, it has a deep effect around that. So to say that something doesn't affect us when it literally affects everything that surrounds us, whether that's through the seasons or the cycles or whatever that is, and everything that we govern ourselves with, whether that's food or, the like if it's solstice or things along those lines, it's being affected by these planets, right? And if you start to talk about physics, even, that those planets, even externally, no matter how far they are still having some sort of influence on the earth, right? And there are literal plants that will bloom during certain transits that happen here on the earth. And that's where we start to kind of see, all right, well, if the earth, which is something that I am definitely obviously made from, and still made from all of the atoms or the minerals or things that are in the earth, if it's going to be affecting these larger bodies or the way that the earth cycles, why wouldn't it affect me? Right. I have all of the same different elements or, like I said, minerals. You still like all of those things are still affected by those cycles. You yourself are made mostly of water. Why wouldn't it affect you? Right? Why wouldn't it affect you? And so being able to move through those astral bodies is, again, a deep self awareness of you are actually very interconnected, right? We live and we grow up in a society that is very independent. Maybe nothing is related, do your own thing, but you're very interconnected. Because you have a body, right? And it is affected by your environment. So therefore, that's kind of the conversation that I always lead with is like, I get people to start thinking about like, oh, actually, maybe that does make a little bit of sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The interconnectedness piece, especially, really like that everything has a ripple into something else.
Right. And that's basic physics, like you have a cause and effect, like no energy is created or destroyed, like everything has an influence, right? And that's an ability to really kind of come into this awareness where we can actually start to bridge this esoteric realm with a physical aspect. And that's really like, that's when we kind of I won't dive too much into it, but that's really the art and craft of ritual within itself. And I really do believe that if you are like, if one of my teachers, and I say this a lot, one of my teachers has always said, if you are unconscious of the rhythms around you, whether that's astrology or the cycles or the seasons, then you become a puppet of them. But if you are aware and you are conscious and you are working with the energies around you, whether that's seasons or cycles or whatever it is, or gardening certain vegetables at a certain time or crops at a certain time, then you become the master of your experience, right? And you get to almost work with the cycles in that way and step into your own mastery as well.
Mm. I'm really glad that you brought this up because I'm not a big fan of the type of astrology that is like it's static, where there's almost like no hope. Like, this is your destiny. This is what your chart says. You're screwed. This is your personality. I'm more about like, how do we use it to empower us and like understanding, like you said, if you understand what's coming, even with something like Mercury retrograde, which has become such like a like buzzword, right? But if you understand certain things that are happening, then you have the power and the control. So could you talk a little bit more about that and, how, empowering yourself through your chart, like that it's, I guess, touching on it's not a static depth statement if you have something on there that is maybe going to freak you out a little bit.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like that's a lot of people will use that static definition like, oh, well, I'm a Leo, so therefore like XYZ. You know what I mean? But like actually your birth chart is very unique, right? Nobody has the same birth chart as you. Does it like wherever you're at in the world, things like that. And it's like having aware, like never put yourself into a definition. You are constantly growing and changing. And just because you have a birth chart doesn't mean that you're going to assimilate that information or that energy or whatever it is, or your personal life experience the same way that somebody else would, right? You're going to have a different articulation process. And so having an awareness of your certain transits or cycles actually gives you an opportunity, like I said, not to be a puppet of them and be like, why isn't my phone working? Or like, why did my computer crash during Mercury retrograde? Or whatever it is for you and how that particular transit's lighting up in your chart. But actually being like, okay, maybe during this time, I need to go deeply within myself and really articulate some of the things that are being brought to the surface right now for me. And maybe it was like, an awareness around maybe this is a conversation that you had with somebody that you felt triggered by, or like maybe this is not like, what are those memories that are coming up? Why is this person coming back from my past? and just being very aware and observant of how things are giving you different opportunities all the time to be fully aware and conscious of them, and then being able to choose the way that you utilize them as your tools, as the way that you, like I said, instead of being a puppet and being like, why is this happening to me? And being like, okay, well, this is how I'm going to use this energy, and this is how I'm going to morph it into a tool that I can pull out of my toolkit and direct the energy the way that I want to, instead of maybe reacting, coming from a victimization space or a reactionary space, and feeling like a disempowerment. It's way more empowering for you to be aware, to know, and to observe, and then be able to direct your energy with an informed choice because you are aware of what's happening.
I love that you put that in, because at least I often find, and I think the more, different communities you're in, people will say, well, like they'll become a victim to something like Mercury retrograde. Like there's nothing they
Right.
can do. This thing is happening and they're just basically like in a current, right? And getting swept away
Yeah.
by it. And
And it's putting your power outside of you,
Right.
totally,
right? Which I
it's
don't like. I'm not into that.
it's also like
No.
it's also a little silly, right? To say like, oh, I'm just like to think that you have free will, but then to also believe that you are being completely controlled like a puppet. And
Right.
I love kind of how you put it. I personally like to have fun. I'll notice things during Mercury retrograde, and then it's like to have fun with it and to bring like lightness to it. And I don't know that that's
Mhm.
how it needs to be, but it's kind of like, those days when everything's going wrong, like your technology's all not working and those things, it does bring a little lightness and ease. If it's like, well, there's this stuff going on around us, and now I get to decide who I'm going to be about the situation instead of just being victimized to it.
Right. Exactly. And you get to choose your reaction. You know what I mean? Like you can sit there and be really upset about it, or you can like have a little chuckle and be like, you know what? I probably could have predicted this. You know what I mean? Or just like being aware of how your reaction is, and just also acknowledging that Mercury retrograde or whatever the transits are, whatever retrogrades, they're not there to harm you. They're there to like bring more awareness and bring an opportunity for you to slow down and maybe articulate, redefine, distill, and create a better way to move forward.
I like that as well. That's a good takeaway. I'm also obsessed. I think you have my favorite Instagram. And
Thank you.
your rituals. So going back into rituals, I would love to hear a few of your favorites and how you put your rituals together. Do you use a book or a grimoire, or do you put them together yourself based on what's going on astrologically? Like just how you feel inspired that day, or like what is your method behind the magic?
Yeah, it's really intuitive. I would say it's always been super intuitive. Yes, I will look at the astrology and, as I'm teaching my classes, astrology is a big base for me. It's kind of the big lens that I look at, and I see what type of energies are really kind of coming up and bringing it in awareness around that and how those would actually affect our personal cycles, and how it brings up different opportunities to release or to, work with, like when we want to kind of ride the energy and like bring in new opportunity. But, as far as putting the rituals together, they're really a assimilation of astrology. They're an assimilation of herbs that are correspondence of that astrology as well, because as we know, there's something called medical astrology where all of your body systems are governed by certain astrological aspects. And then there's herbs that actually work on those systems that have they work on those systems in the body, but then they also work very similarly, quote unquote, magically, and it's really, at the end of the day, it's energy. It's the essence of that herb. And it's the way that herb creates different, balances in your body. It also creates balances in your energy or whatever it is. So there's like many different steps. Like obviously on Instagram, you're going to see the beautiful parts of the flowers and like water. And like you always want to make sure all the four elements are there, and just really being able to articulate with whatever is coming through for you. I think ritual is a beautiful opportunity to step into an awareness of really flow state and creative state and being able to commune with that, higher state of awareness that you have within your being, kind of really being able to come into that space of mastery and direct, like maybe this is what's happening in the stars, but this is how I'm going to choose to direct that energy or be able to ground it and anchor it. And that's the beautiful part about ritual is that now you're not just aware of astrology, you're bringing it down and you're directing it in a way that is either helping you release, helping you manifest, whatever that is that you're conjuring and creating for yourself and empowering yourself and your life because it puts you in the driver's seat. As far as what my favorite rituals are definitely, this is a big thing that I talk about is like, there's nothing wrong with people's manifesting. Most people are manifesting constantly, but anytime that you set an intention for yourself, what's the first thing that comes up? It's your resistance, right? It's always your resistance. It's the fear, it's the doubt, it's the insecurity, whatever it is. Or even if it's like you have a big opportunity, what's the first thing that comes up? It's the resistance, it's the fear, it's whatever that is. So my personal favorites are release rituals. And if in my membership and things along those lines and with my clients, they know that we focus a lot on release because it actually helps you just move forward in the direction of what that like highest, most optimal path and highest timeline of success is for you. That is kind of already within your personal being. Like you already know what that is. It's just deconstructing all the things that kind of get in the way.
Yeah, and it's really hard to call in new things if you're full of stuff.
Yes.
So
It's like,
it always comes first, right?
yeah, definitely.
Want to manifest, but like you got to clear some space.
You got to clear some space. It's just like a garden, right? You wouldn't just continue to plant stuff in a garden bed without clearing it out and tilling the soil. So if you don't have proper soil, your like harvest is not going to be as good, right? Or it may not even come to fruition. So you have to be able to, create that space, create that nourishment for your dreams and your desires to really bloom.
You touched on two things that I want to kind of go further. One is this is the short question. Can people just make up their own rituals?
I'm sure people do.
Well, no, I mean, obviously people do. I know I do, but what's your take on like, is it from your standpoint, is that, I don't want to say dangerous is a silly word, right? Like, but what's your take on if people are just like, wait, I can like create my own rituals and, is there something that you can share or thoughts on that?
I mean, ritual is a broad term, right? There are definitely many different rituals you could do. Like, yeah, if you want to do like self-care or whatever, and you have your like little things. If you're sitting there just, it depends, right? It depends on what you are working with. If you're sitting there just calling in on any energy or whatever it is that you're working with or whatever is out there, I don't suggest that. I suggest that there is a certain level of that you need to be grounded, you need to be anchored, you need to be like aware of what you're doing because it is intentional, right? I do feel like people could probably, if they have a pretty strong, leverage with their own intuition and trust within themselves, yes, absolutely. Lead yourself, trust yourself. And with anything, you always need to follow your own intuition, period. Whether I say something or another teacher says something, everyone needs to follow their own intuition and their guidance always. But with that said, for me specifically, my ritual process it's almost like a science and a formula. And it's very, very dialed and there's not, I was touching on this before, but yeah, we look at the astrology, you see the beautiful pictures, things that are like reels or whatever in the videos and they're gorgeous. But we're also working with, like tapping in our rituals. We're working with incantation. We're working with really deep processing of being able to move through the somatic experience and being able to ground it in a different way. So yes, absolutely. I've had tons of people probably, repeat what they see on the reels. And I think that that's beautiful and awesome. And I encourage everybody to be their own creative director of their life. But there is an essence there that, yeah, if you are going to tap into like really powerful energy, I do think that there needs to be a guide and definitely working through shadow work. You know what I mean? And moving through that space as well.
Cool. I want to ask you, thanks for answering that and like dissecting it first. The other piece was about manifesting. You said, because you said this piece earlier about how we're like manifesting most of the time. And I've recently had I read this somewhere, and then I really kind of dug into it with myself and my clients, that we're manifesting all of the time. Like
Yeah.
I love that you talked about your subconscious. We've been talking about subconscious with you because our subconscious is running 100% of the time, right? Whether we're sleeping,
Always.
always. And so if we're not being intentional with our thoughts and our words and our actions, we're manifesting whatever our subconscious is playing with. Would you?
Right.
So if we're constantly manifesting and our life is essentially a live showing of what we've been manifesting, how do you work with, like, how would you say to start working with those unconscious things that we're manifesting? Like, because we're like, wait, I don't want to be living like this, or I don't want to be experiencing it like this. And when I'm conscious, I'm trying not to, but there's this thing that feels like it's out of control. Does that make?
Right. 100%. And a lot of people do feel out of control. Like
Mhm.
everyone is like, why do I keep attracting the same partner? Why do I keep attracting like this? Or like, what is wrong with me? One, there's nothing ever wrong with you. But the second is, the subconscious comes forward in our thoughts and beliefs, right? Our subconscious is our basic belief system. And there will be those beliefs kind of recycle and recycle and recycle. And you inform your environment from that core foundation of beliefs, right? So it's a very subtle thing, but you will find when you're faced with choices, I'm just going to use the relationship example, like if someone's covered in red flags, but like you go for it anyways. This is like we've all been there. This is a conscious decision, but you are making it from a subconscious belief system because you are naturally attracted to that environment because it feels normal for you. So there is a deep space, like there's always choices, right? But like you have to start to really articulate what is the response coming up in my body right now? Does my nervous system feel grounded and clear, or does it feel chaotic? Right. There's a lot of things that we have to be very subtle of, but it's like in order to really kind of be aware of that, you have to source into your body because the subconscious lives also in your body and so does your trauma. So we really just want to be aware of like, okay, well, I want to figure this out, like, why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep choosing it? And it's way more of a very subtle noticing. And it's a self-awareness of how do I feel in the presence of this person? What here feels familiar? Yeah, maybe it's like, ooh, it's super fun or like, exciting or whatever it is. But like, where is my nervous system? What are the thoughts that come up for me when I start to think about this? Like being able to really understand like that inner dialogue that's being kind of triggered during those moments of choice. And this is a big part of it is that subconscious, you will have a default choice, right? You will always have a default choice. And whether that's red flag situations or whatever it is for you because of what you experienced growing up, or there will be another choice to the side that is a path that maybe you haven't taken before. And that path almost feels less comfortable because you've already been down this other path and you can keep retelling the same stories to yourself and keep getting yourself back into these situations until you take that other path and if you even notice it's there.
Right. You have to be able to notice first. You mentioned grounding and how
Mhm.
important it is to start with grounding, which is, I think, we also do that through like paying attention to our body. But do you have any techniques or tips that you use to ground yourself in your body and start that practice of noticing what's going on under the surface? I like the question too you asked about where is my nervous system? Like, what am I feeling?
Right, exactly. And you'd be shocked, but most people are not in their bodies. Like that is a big thing. And, in my own work with myself, that's a big, way that when I teach people about intuition or things along those lines and like really noticing where your body is at, that is one of the key things. Cause it's like, okay, so we're here and we're like reeling with all these decisions or thoughts or whatever the things that are coming up. And then if you just take a moment to breathe. So there's a few techniques that I have. I always have when people come into ritual or when they're kind of coming into or coming out of, those like that heady space, I have them take 3 deep breaths and I have them inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, because that tells your body that it's time to relax. And it's just taking a moment to really inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, grounding all the way into the body, just noticing, maybe putting your hands on your body, being self-aware of that, of being like, okay, like what is beneath me? What is this chair beneath me? And then if we are working with ritual, either I'll work with visualization, having them sense into the foundation that's beneath them, but also the visualization of just extending roots down from the base of the spine into the center of the earth and just really feeling into that energy of the earth. Like, what is that you can feel like? It feels still, it feels grounded, it feels, foundational, whatever that is. And so that's most people, when they do that, it just kind of brings that awareness into the body and so forth, or just like even your awareness into your heart. Like I've been doing a lot of work with EQ, which is emotional intelligence, as well as heart math. And so it's really bringing that that state of coherence into the heart. And just even if you are in the middle of a chaotic situation and you're like, whoa, what's happening? Just breathing into the space of the heart for about 5 deep breaths, inhaling through the nose, exhaling out through the mouth, you will be more grounded, right? And you'll have an opportunity to just feel into, okay, how am I really feeling in this situation? Do I feel safe? Do I feel grounded and safe? Or does this feel like the little free fall situation that feels exciting, but at the end of the day, like, is this a familiar feeling that I've been chasing for X amount of years,
I want to ask you something that I don't know that you're probably get asked a lot, but I'm sitting here and I'm listening and I'm thinking about how men need this like so much, the slowing down, the grounding, the breathing, and how so much of this awareness stuff would serve men, specifically like, you know, like hype A, performance driven, like very like America capitalistic driven kind of men. But it's kind of like what they resist, right? Men often like
Right.
push away. And how do we, and just in your opinion, like how do we open this up to get more men willing to, whether it's playing this, in grounding or ritual or even astrology? Do you have any like thoughts on that?
Absolutely.
Cool.
And yeah, no, it's not something that I get asked very often. I would say about 90% of my clients are women. However, a lot of it, the more, the coaches that I work with for my business also work with high level executives. So it's like these techniques of grounding into your body, a lot of it is going to affect your performance. And it's going to be about being able to lead your team in a really amazing way. You know what I mean? And being able to lead from that emotional intelligence space and not be so stressed out and not lose your cool and not really, allowing for these external situations to govern your reaction and the way that you are leading people. Because those people need you to be coherent. They need you to be working with all like levels of your brain, all areas of your brain, and not just the fight or flight response when we get stressed out. Right. So if we start to think about it that way, us being able to be in the somatic body, to be coherent, to be in that space of, I don't want to say necessarily resilience, but also reciprocity, then we're able to actually commune with this opportunity to connect with our team and be able to lead them into an efficient space of performance, not just for ourselves, but for our companies and so forth. So that does have an opportunity there, and the more that we can bring in that space of connection or empathy, you will see an impact with the people around you. I know particularly, like I have a good friend of mine that is works on those levels and he has seen a profound impact, working with that type of energy work or emotional intelligence, things along those lines that has really helped impact his business and the way that he reacts to stressful situations that are on a really high level. And so being able to just move through the energy in a different way and to hold that, that space of coherence for everybody that's in the room, that's a different way. That's a different level of performance that a lot of people are just not even tapping into yet.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. I mean, I know for me, I get more results with less effort is like the best way to say
Yes.
it, is I can work hard and produce results, or I can use, I want to say, more feminine types of work and mindset and like self-care, and I get more results and it's easier.
Right. Exactly. You don't have to work so hard and dominate or pummel, like go, 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 go. Yeah, that maybe has worked for our ancestors for many, many years, but there is a difference awareness of, being in that presence and being in that present state. And then once you're in coherence, everyone around you is too. That's just the way that physics works and energy works, even within that space of the heart. And that is like an actual, it's not just frequency. It's not just woo. Those are actual studies that have been done that once you are in coherence, literally everybody else will be, because they can't even, it's a frequency thing.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to bring up that I think is so cool. And we talk about it. Laura was talking about different energy, different frequencies and energies. We had someone on who talked about the fact that we are electrical beings. We constantly have an electrical pulse running through our bodies. Our hearts are electric. And I know you mentioned the Heart Math Institute too. They've done a ton of research and really cool scientific studies on how our human electromagnetic field extends like 4 to 6 feet from the body.
Yes.
And, like, sometimes when you're around people, you don't always know, like, why you might like someone or dislike them, but you can feel their energy, right? Like, it is an energy thing. And so when you shift your to moving or, I guess, living from the heart instead of from the head, or it's really living from love and the heart over the former, like, fear-based leadership, right?
Right.
And everybody
Exactly.
can
And it,
feel that. That's why it has that ripple effect. Because when you change yourself and you start to react from the heart instead of from the head or from fear, it has a ripple effect. Everybody else can feel it around you.
right. It's all just coherence, and it's that electromagnetic field, working in a balanced way. And then when that electromagnetic field and your heartbeat is balanced, you can access all areas of your brain, not just like the reptilian brain and the fight or flight. Right. And not react, and then it really brings in a safe space for other people to collaborate and feel that they're being seen and heard the way that they want to be. And there's a lot of inspiring things that come through that, because it's like we all are reflecting back to each other. And then we're able to come into that space of gratitude and appreciation, and holding that level will increase performance over time, whether that's for your business or for your life or whatever that is.
And it'll increase joy and peace and all of the
Yes.
good things in life.
All the good things in life.
I know we're getting a little bit short on time. Was there anything that we haven't talked about yet that you really wanted, that was on like your heart to share with our community?
Yeah, I think that basically, what Vital Mystic really represents is being able, which is my company, is just really being able to come into your own space of empowerment and mastery, and being able to really be your own healer, your own, advocate for the things that you really desire in your life. And just knowing that whatever is in your path, you have the power to really transform and heal. And wherever you are feeling trapped, there's an opportunity there for you to step into that space of mastery and alchemize, what makes you feel powerless into your power. And that is the essence of what true ritual is about. It's about putting yourself in that driver's seat, being able to really articulate, what are the subconscious beliefs or programming or the things that I've been running for 30 something years or longer that are actually standing in the way of me having vital, thriving relationships, or, prosperity, or whatever it is. And like really being able to heal from that space and really root into that space of sovereignty for yourself. That is the gift of life in itself. And every single person, I really, really, truly believe every single person has a unique purpose in this life. And in order for us to really create the change that we want to see in the world, every single person needs to be oscillating in that coherence, in that space of joy. But we can't do that if we're still carrying around the baggage of something that is holding us from that, whether that's fear or trauma or along those lines. So, yeah.
What are the best, not ways for people to obviously follow you and learn more, but who are the people that should be reaching out to you?
Anyone that's ready to transform their lives, this is a big, ritual is becoming more mainstream. And I think that a lot of the times it's like witchcraft or whatever it is, but really ritual is essential. It's something that is very deep and profound. And I think that was a big part of our community. So I think that the people who are ready for transformation and change, who are ready to put down the stories or the ways that they have been feeling trapped, who are ready to really step into that space of power, not just for themselves, but their families, their communities, and this world, and who are ready to really transform this world, that's it. Like if you feel that calling, you're ready for it. And especially if you are in a space of leadership, 100%. Like if you're really wanting to activate these levels in a different way, then that's what this is about. This is about all of us coming into that space of power and being able to help each other rise through that.
Yeah, it truly is. We are all being called to step up into
Definitely.
the most that we can be during this time and to all be beacons of light in our communities. So thank you so much for sharing that and for sharing everything. This is so wonderful to meet you and talk to you. Thank you for everything that you shared with our community today. Where can everybody find you if they want to go follow and learn more and dive into ritual? Check out your website.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at vital.mystic, and as well as TikTok, I'm at vital.mystic, and online I'm at vitalmystic.com.
Oops, sorry. I thought you were going to go, Alex. We'll cut that out.
Well,
All right. Thank you so
yeah, no,
What?
it was so great having you. Thanks for entertaining, some of my questions, and really like diving in from a I want to say grounded, like shallow pool type place, but also going really deep in the deep end with us in other areas. Um, yeah,
A lot of wisdom shared. So many good takeaways. Thank you.
yeah. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure.
It was great to meet you. And thank you again, everyone, for being here with us today. We will see you back on the next episode of The Frequency Shifter Show.
Thanks for listening to another episode of The Frequency Shifters. We really hope that you got some value, you learned something, and that there's something from this episode that you can take away and use in your life. Who are you thinking of right now that needs to hear this episode? Please share it with them. Share this on social media, subscribe and like and leave a comment. And please, if you have a comment or an idea or something that you want us to talk about or investigate, leave it online and we will go into those and bring you that information. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.